One of the most dangerous problems that affects the engine and can lead to complete engine failure is coolant loss. And trust me, my friend, coolant loss never happens without a clear reason. There is no such thing as normal coolant loss. In today's video, we will go through all the hidden causes of coolant loss, whether there is a visible leak or no visible leak at all, and how to inspect and accurately locate the source of the leak. Cracked or damaged radiator. The common mistake is that when coolant level drops, we immediately look for coolant dripping clearly underneath the engine. But in reality, this may not happen at all, even though there is an actual coolant leak. There may be a crack or damage in the radiator core itself or in the plastic tanks located at the top and bottom of the radiator. This can happen for several reasons. The leak location may be hidden and difficult to notice, or it may be very small and only appears when engine RPM increases and while driving at higher speeds. You can notice this more easily if your coolant is colored instead of transparent. Coolant reservoir cap or radiator cap. The coolant reservoir cap or radiator cap is considered an essential part of the cooling system. Its job is to keep the coolant inside the system and maintain pressure within the cooling system. As a safety feature, the cap contains a safety valve. Its function is to open and release excess pressure when the cooling system pressure rises above a specific limit, which is usually written clearly on the cap. However, if the cap's safety valve becomes faulty, coolant may leak excessively whenever pressure naturally increases inside the cooling system. You may not notice this because it usually happens while driving, but you can identify this issue if you notice traces or residue of colored coolant around the cap or on the coolant reservoir or radiator body. The solution is simple. Replace the cap with a new one. Coolant system hoses. Coolant leakage from coolant system hoses is very common due to damaged hose ends, loose hose clamps, or even a small hole or crack in one of the hoses. Sometimes this type of leak is difficult to detect unless you squeeze the hoses after the engine reaches operating temperature. Engine freeze plugs. All engines, without exception, contain openings on the sides, front, and back of the engine called engine freeze plugs. These plugs are used to protect the engine from cracking or damage if the coolant freezes and expands, causing excessive pressure inside the engine block. They're also used to seal casting holes in the engine block that result from the engine manufacturing and metal casting process. But over time, these plugs can rust and begin leaking coolant outside the engine. Since they are located in hidden and difficult to reach areas, leaks coming from them are usually difficult to detect. Water pump gasket. A leak can occur from the water pump gasket. However, in most cases, you will notice it easily because you will find coolant droplets underneath the vehicle, usually on the left side when standing in front of the vehicle. Cylinder head gasket. A damaged cylinder head gasket can cause coolant loss because coolant may leak externally between the short block and the cylinder head. A damaged head gasket can also allow coolant to leak into the combustion chambers. In this case, coolant loss becomes severe without any visible external leak from the engine. However, clear symptoms will appear, such as water coming out of the exhaust along with thick white smoke that resembles water vapor. How to locate the leak. One of the best proven methods to locate a coolant leak is to pressure test the cooling system, then carefully inspect and identify the exact leak location. It also helps a lot if the coolant is colored, but if it is transparent, you can add a safe food coloring to the coolant to make leak detection much easier and clearer. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell so you never miss a new video. You were watching Auto Fix Zone. See you in the next video.